Trick Williams whooped Average Joe and is now the new TNA World Champion. History has been made. We're going to talk about it and more. This is WrstlXtra. Yo. This is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate, joined by my trios team. I love when I get to say that. Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. Yeet. And of course, say his name, he shall appear. The professor that is Gerard Bonner. We said another name. He did appear, but then he disappeared without his TNA championship. Trick Williams made history by defeating Joe Hendry and becoming the first under contract WWE superstar to win the TNA World Championship. All done. Again, another first time was the TNA Championship being defended on WWE programming. Of course, Trick comes away as the champion. Again, history has been made. Gerard, what was your reaction when you saw that 1, 2, 3 Trick in awe holding that TNA championship? How did you feel?
Well, I believe we talked about it last week, and I believe I said that, this was the right move, that we were finally going to see this happen. I think there's a degree of irony here that it was a year ago at Battelground where we first started to see this TNA, WWE, NXT thing happen, and we were thinking back then. So they've literally gone a whole year teasing the possibility of someone from the other company holding the other person's championship. And we've seen some great matches in the process. And I think it was done in enough ways where you actually thought, oh, well, Joe Hendry's Joe Hendry. Trick probably won't. But all the signs were there. It was the right moment. It was the right move. It was the right trajectory for Trick Williams. I think this is probably the best scenario that it could have happened in where both sides win. Trick Williams on his end, he's pretty much done all there is to do in NXT. Now calling himself, whether they want to acknowledge it as a major title or not, a world champion is a completely different space for a Trick Williams. So they win in that regard. TNA wins because now they get the caliber of a WWE superstar that holds their championship that still fits in within the TNA universe. So it is a win-win. I mean, if you're talking cool factor to go from Joe Hendry to Trick Williams, that makes perfect sense. Notoriety, mainstream conversation, all of the boxes that you want checked in a scenario like this were checked. Plus, it was a historic moment to have the TNA World Championship change hands on a WWE PLE, honestly would mean more than a WWE Championship changing hands on a TNA PLE. So this is a great moment, and it gets the people talking. It raises Trick's stakes that much more. We got a great conversation in the process, so congratulations. And we got a rap performance from Trick. How about that? I know. He's no Kendrick. But the point is, we don't just get Joe Hendry. We got them both. 2 cool songs. Great moments. Congratulations, Trick Williams.
Oh, for sure. Like you said, Gerard, we first saw the possibility of, TNA, NXT titles kind of changing hands. A year ago at Battleground, we've seen Jordan Grace, challenge for the NXT Women's Championship. We've seen the TNA X Division Championship, competed for as well. The Tag Team Championships and everything else in between. Moose as well against Obafemi for the NXT Championship.
Yeah.
And many times we thought, yeah, it's going to happen. It has to happen. It should happen. Surely it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think when we got round to this one, it was like, They're not going to do it, are they? But now that they have, the stars have aligned, and it makes sense that it's a year later, that it's Trick Williams at the space in his career that he is. As you said, he's done everything else in NXT already. Mex, do you think this has been done at the right time in terms of, could this have been done with the other titles before, when we've seen those matches happen before?
I don't think it would have been as meaningful if it happened before. Obviously, this being a world title, it's got all the eyes on it, and they started telling the story, especially on the NXT TV, with bringing the president of TNA out as well. That's a nice wrinkle, because it's like, even he's come to watch this, and he can't not leave with the title. His title's got to come back to TNA. And yeah, I think they've done it in the most meaningful way. A tag team championship swap or a North American title or X Division would have just felt like, okay, that's nice, but what are the implications? You probably wouldn't have asked that question so much. With this, I think, it's got everyone probably glued to TNA on Thursday, NXT tonight, to see, what is this going to look like? Trick pulling double duty and stuff like that. And timing wise, again, for Trick, I think it's worked out, because Trick is someone that has done everything at NXT, like Gerard mentioned. They found this spot for him. Trick still needs work, respectfully, in terms of like the in-ring stuff. But I think this is like the massive vote of confidence in the fact that we don't want to put you on the main roster for you to drown in that aspect, but we realize the value in you. So go and complete this side mission, go and face some of the most grizzled people that are in TNA that can help you with your development. And then, you're going to come to the main roster, because now that accolade of being TNA World Champion in the WWE, it's in stone. No one can take that from Trick. So, he's, same way like Melo got the first round draft when he just came up. Like, these are things now that they're almost championships without the gold, So, like, this is the biggest kind of way to tell Trick, like, you're not ready, but we value you so highly. This is what you're going to do for us and do for TNA, and how we're going to use you in the meantime. So timing has, it couldn't be better, really.
Trick, as we said, is the first under contract WWE star to win the TNA Championship, but he's not the first non-TNA star to win that championship. Penta was actually the first one. I didn't even know that myself until today, I think. Or didn't realize, should I say. That was done in 1990. Well, way back in I don't even know when, 2001, I think, or probably earlier than that.
No,
when Penta was Impact champion.
Yeah.
That's probably like 2013.
Yeah, 2013 or something.
I don't know why I'm going. I don't know why I went as far back as that. Anyway, 2013. And then you had
because it was right on that. It was during that cross of between TNA and Lucha, and so that's when that was going on. Kenny Omega, Christian Cage have both done that, both when they were with AEW. And it's been widely criticized, well documented, that people felt as though especially with Kenny Omega, when he won, it didn't work out. It kind of felt very much more about AEW than it could ever have been about TNA. How does the WWE do this differently? Now, we can talk about, obviously, the partnership, and we can speculate that it should be and are expected for it to be done better. I think we're in a better place, but there's no guarantee here. So how does WWE do this better than it has been done previously, especially with the time when Kenny Omega held that championship? Next, do you want to?
No, all I was gonna say was that I think they've already done the groundwork. Like Gerard said, this has been going on for a year. This isn't partnership, guys, and a couple months down the line, you've got a new world champion that doesn't work for the company, and we're not investing in any other side of the roster. I think they've already earned the trust of the fans of the roster. You know, for Joe Hendry, and Joe Hendry plays a massive part in this, because for Joe Hendry to come over to NXT, lay down, look up at the lights for Trick Williams, you know, after the year Joe Hendry has had, or the couple of years he's had, like that takes, you know, massive kind of swallowing your pride and being able to do that. So without doubt, I think that TNA roster has bought in, and they know the value in this relationship. So I think already WWE have kind of gone about this the right way. You know, they'll feed some guys to Trick potentially, but again, on this Battleground show, they showed us who's next in line. They showed us who's next in line, and I'm of the belief that he will probably beat Trick whenever it's going to be, because of the work they're doing with Mike Santana on TNA as well. So I think it's very safe the way they're doing it. Like it should be working out absolutely fine.
Yeah, to that particular point, I think they've already laid out the groundwork in ways that AEW did not. And one of the ways is this: how are you presenting TNA stars on your program? So if we'll look, TNA rarely ended up on AEW programming. And when they did, it was in a losing effort. We've seen Joe Hendry come over in multiple spaces. And again, maybe the ultimate rub was bringing Joe Hendry to WrestleMania. Like that to me was and I mean, you put him in that space against Randy Orton. And I mean, it has just been, so it said a lot about their trust for Joe Hendry and TNA. And then what we've also seen is we've seen so many people cross the line on both sides. I mean, they've sent people from NXT over to TNA. And I mean, whether it's on the women's side, the men's side, they have done that, and they've done it in a way where you go, oh, this is compelling. Oh, this is exciting. Oh, I don't know how this is going to roll. So it's an amazing thing to watch. And now you add in a Mike Santana, who again shows up at the PLE. He's going to be on NXT tonight. You know, you never know who from the TNA side of things will make their way over. I mean, we've seen the Rascals do what they do. We've seen all kinds of really cool moments on the men's and women's side. So it's a partnership that happens to be around more than the championship. It's around the entire organization. And so when you see that, that's a game-changing moment in terms of what we consider a partnership to actually be. So they're already doing the work. And, you know, for Trick, this is a great opportunity, because now it's a whole new roster of talent who has experience that NXT does not. And again, to get to see those kinds of matches is going to be great.
And that's the difference. And I think for me, you know, we're talking about the vote of confidence and the different space that Trick's going to be in, and him learning and facing guys like Mike Santana, who we're expecting to maybe be his first real challenger for that title. You know, we've got the likes of an Eric Young. Moose could still be waiting in the wings.
Sure.
May even see Mustafa Ali, Nick Nemeth. There's so many people who have storied careers, loads of experience, loads of accolades, and all the rest of it that can do a great thing for Trick. We've seen the rise. If you've been following TNA, we've kind of seen the rise of Mike Santana in TNA. They definitely have, you know, regard him very highly. Do you think this is going to be a short-lived TNA run and TNA Championship run for Trick, and Mike Santana's the next man? I feel as though Mike Santana's the next man, but it's not going to be straight away.
Yeah. I feel like they will maybe feed a couple people to him first before we get to Mike Santana. I think the WWE draft is interesting. I don't know where they're going to place that at the moment. Don't know if there's any rumors about when they're going to do that. But to see if Trick drops that, and then they basically just take Trick from TNA straight to WWE main roster, and he doesn't go on NXT again. Or this might be something a bit longer term, depending on. I think WWE are very invested in Trick Williams. Like, you know, they look at him and they see WrestleMania main eventer if we can get this right. And you know, it doesn't take, you know, anyone to kind of notice, it's just the wrestling side of things. And in WWE, you don't have to be Kenny Omega. They just need to get Trick to being able to deliver a 3.5-star match, you know, if he ever got to the WrestleMania stage, and that's enough for them. So it's just the wrestling. This is literally just to now go to TNA and have reps and go and have championship matches and defenses, and that's it. Give the belt back and return to the mission ultimately from the side gig.
You know, you said it earlier, Max, and I believe it was you that said it when we first kind of saw this whole thing with Trick and Joe Hendry pop off, and we were talking about, you know, what's the possibilities, what could happen with Trick, and the best scenario. And I think this is definitely the better scenario than him going to the main roster. It kind of like, if I was Shawn Michaels right now, I'm feeling like the luckiest guy on the planet. Because, you know, I believe I think he said it in an interview I read. You know, he's got Obafemi and he's got Trick Williams. Like, either one of them are Mr. NXT right now. And he's now got them both in a space where they are top of the card in two different places. It's wild. We've been talking about both of them going to the main roster even before Mania, before Stand and Deliver. And then I think they're now in a place that's better than them ever being on the main roster at this moment in time. Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, Oba can continue to just dominate on NXT. There is still the whole thing of building a few stars within the men's singles division in NXT. But then you've got Trick, who you've written a whole new, it's a whole new timeline. It is literally like a multiverse type of thing. Shawn Michaels is the Watcher. You know what I mean? It's madness right now. There are so many possibilities, so many different ways it can go. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Going back to Obafemi now, he had a match against Miles Bourne. Someone we never, no one expected Miles Bourne to win that match, and we got here. The match in itself was great. Miles Bourne, I think, did exactly what he needed to do in the build-up, in the match, all the rest of it. But do you feel that was a good match for Obafemi, or is it a sign of the space that the NXT men's division finds himself in at the moment?
I think, firstly, I mean, I know I've said this here before, but I think Obafemi is world class. I think that guy is world class. Like, he is one of the best big men. He just knows his role so well, like, and he plays it so well as well. I think Miles Bourne done great in the build. I think he was really solid as well. I thought the match was really good. I thought, you know, Miles was always going to play plucky underdog and can he do it and stuff like that. I think he done such a good job with Obafemi. Stylistically, I know for some people it can look like he's doing the same thing every time because he's the big guy going up against someone that is probably smaller than him. But yeah, I felt like they really brought it. Like, from an in-ring standpoint, that show really picked up when this match was on, and the match before, which I believe was Stephanie and Jordan Grace. That's when I started feeling like, okay, this is some high level stuff now, you know. So yeah, I think Obafemi he just becomes so reliable. And you're talking about, you know, Shawn Michaels being lucky. I think, remember, we've come from a time where NXT became super popular was when the indie darlings were all coming in and stuff like that, and then WWE would just kind of sprinkle in their WWE bedazzlement on these indie talents and making them feel even bigger, you know. And it's taken us a while to get to this point now where we have people that literally came through the PC and they are feeling like main roster level talents, WrestleMania level talents sort of thing. And with Trick, we've got one. With Obafemi, we've got one. And with Miles Bourne, I just hope that, you know, this isn't like a one and done and he returns down the card to like just being a member of the NQCC. Like, he's got a lot of talent. My one criticism with Miles Bourne is, when are they going to stop him from doing the Randy Orton cosplay stuff? Because
it's not going to happen for now. It's not happening anytime soon.
Even in the
they even talk about it themselves.
I know, but it's just like I feel maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like if there's any one thing to hold him back, it's that he needs his own move set. If he looks like him, he can't do anything about that. You see what I mean? I'm not telling him to go and get plastic surgery or something, but like in your move set, you don't have to kind of mimic like all the mannerisms and moves and stuff. You can change that a bit. But it seems like maybe the directive from the PC, like you're saying, is play into it sort of thing. Maybe that's helped him to get over. Either way, I enjoy Miles Bourne, and I like to see this little rise and this little kind of push that he's got. I just hope, like I say, the Randy Orton stuff doesn't hamper him, especially as Randy Orton is still alive and kicking, and like he's passed, and this is like a tribute. Like this guy's still alive.
Right. No, I agree, and I agree in on both sides in the sense where like you said, he looks like him. That kind of thing started. It went kind of ran rampant on the internets and all the rest of it. So it's either we pretend it doesn't exist, or we just play into it. Yeah. And I think obviously they've decided to play into it. Clearly, it's being mentioned on commentary as well, and it's not just a moveset thing, and what I mean, and things like that. But I do feel as though that could be something that could harm him more than what I mean, build him up. It was right for them to kind of lean into it. It has been the thing that's kind of helped him to get over amongst the fans and all the rest of it. It definitely has. It's done that. But I feel as though it may, as you say, it probably does need to be a thing where now or soon enough, it can't be the thing. Miles Bourne started out and came into NQCC with, that whole grappler, wrestler, amateur wrestling type of gig, similar to, Tavion Heights, Charlie Dempsey. Now he's kind of leaning a little bit more to the WWE superstar, which is okay. That's where you're trying to head to. I get it. But it makes you the same as Randy Orton, as almost anyone else. So let's try and lean a little bit more back into the technical guy, more than, Randy Orton Jr. It will help. Here's a question in terms of NQCC. You mentioned Tavion Heights. He'll be facing Santana. Santana makes his NXT debut. Remember when Tavion Heights was sent to Japan, did all his thing in Noah, was in that tournament, came back, and we kind of thought he was going to be pushed to the heights, to use the pun purposely. Of course, we've seen Miles Bourne kind of pushed above him or more than he has since his return. Is that a negative on Tavion Heights? Have NXT missed an opportunity here, or are we just still kind of have to wait patiently to see what they do with Tavion Heights?
I think they're putting him on ice because he's going to be a problem when they let him go. And this is very much what I said with Stephanie Vaquer. I laughed when they gave Stephanie Vaquer the North American title, and she's still here wanting the women's championship. Like, these are good problems. And I think Tavion Heights is like, right, if we let this guy loose, like he might almost take off at the speed that Trick Williams took off. Like the minute he split from Carmelo and just went, like everyone loved the song and everything like that. I don't doubt he has the charisma. We obviously know he can do the job in the ring. Like, they don't want that problem of having to push him immediately right now. So they're doing some good stuff around the NQCC and the character dynamics amongst all of them. And Tavion's probably playing a bit of a middleman role now between Miles and Charlie Dempsey. His time will come. I have no doubt that, it may be frustrating for him. He wants to get stuck in and stuff maybe. But I think once he gets going, he will be fine.
But then with that said, and with the problem that we have in terms of having and finding viable or realistic opponents for Obafemi, would it not be a good idea to let a Tavion Heights goal. And that doesn't necessarily mean to then take on Obafemi straight away, but would it not be a good idea to kind of let him go right now, kind of and push his way up, whether that be a North American Championship or he wins a certain tournament or whatever it is, and we build him up over time? Are we holding him back for a little bit too long while this problem is still here? Gerard, what do you think?
I don't think we're holding him back too long. I think, again, let's think about what happened this weekend. This weekend, and really over the last couple of weeks, we got to see something we didn't expect. This whole Miles Bourne situation. Nobody, we knew to a degree the story of the hearing impairment and things like that. Nobody knew that man could cut a promo. Nobody knew. And I mean, every time this guy gets a mic, he doesn't stutter. His words make sense. You sit back and you go, this dude is way more than a, Randy Orton lookalike. Like, this guy has got it. So for me, if you have these moments where you are now giving these opportunities to these guys who you don't expect, while Tavion Heights is in the background, we already know what he can do. We knew in the breakout tournament what this kid could do. And then you took him over to Japan and he shined like new money. We got nothing to worry about. He's one of those guys that the second they say go, he's going to skyrocket. There are other people that they need to give the opportunity to that may not have that opportunity for nearly as long. I don't know how high the ceiling is for Miles Bourne, but the fact that we're seeing this, I think one of the things that they're doing is not just trying to create opponents for Obafemi, but they need to have a situation that avoids what they had last year. You remember last year when they kind of raided NXT and they took Mello and they took a few others, and we were sitting there going, so who's going to fight Trick for the NXT championship? And so now I think what they're trying to do is they're like, okay, we have all of these options here. Let's not just get opponents for Obafemi. Let's get a whole new NXT ready so that when this Obafemi issue and when Wesley and when Ethan Page and when Trick Williams all graduate, we still have an NXT that you're ready to play with. You're not going to turn away and we don't have to wait another 6 months to build another superstar. Tavion Heights is ready now. Miles Bourne has needed this kind of thing. So you get Miles Bourne ready. You have Tavion Heights already ready. You got Jasper Troy, who we'll talk about in a little bit. You got a number of players where all of a sudden, when these guys get ready to go to Raw and SmackDown, we're not hurting in NXT at all because it's clear to see where we're going to go. So I think that's what's being set up relative to Tavion Heights and the rest of the whole NXT situation.
Speaking of building up talent, we also saw Sol Ruka versus Kalani Jordan, number 2. And I'm telling you now, I'm saying it here, this literally is Ricochet versus Ospreay.
Absolutely.
In female form. That match was unreal. Again. Was the right decision made in terms of who won, where we're going? Like, what was your take on the whole match, the build-up that we're seeing? Obviously, we've got Zarya kind of like, hovering around this whole thing as well. We've been talking and seeing Kalani kind of have a more aggressive side to her and whatnot. What is your take on this whole thing at the moment?
I think the match between these two was good as an opener sort of thing. I like Zarya and Sol Ruka. I'll be honest. I don't like them together per se because I can't wait till Zarya turns heel. Because
been waiting for it from day one.
I just think she has been miscast. Like, her entrance shows some like mean woman, this, that, and the other, and she's here kind of doing all the kind of fun skits with Sol Ruka. Like, I don't really think it adds up, sort of thing. I know there's only a certain amount of places, and Jordan Grace and Stephanie and Julia all came in at the same time, so it's difficult. But like, I feel her real value is going to show once she turns heel. With Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan, these are two women that I feel are going to be in the WWE for a very long time. They are safe, if you ask me. They're clear of injuries, scandals, this, that, and the other, and they have a job for life. I think they're absolutely fine. But this may sound harsh, and this isn't necessarily off the back of the match that they had. I do think that the two of them have stagnated. Like, I don't feel like, in terms of their growth, their trajectory, I don't feel like they're any further along than maybe 3 months ago, 6 months ago. Kalani's done some good character stuff. Soruka, I don't really feel character-wise we've seen anything new from her. Just the interactions with Zarya. So I feel like Kalani is more or less ready to go. Like, there's stuff that we as fans, won't necessarily, things like psychology in ring, which will always get more with experience. So I can't judge her on that now. She's had a bit of a character change. She's great in ring. So it's just reps is going to get her, where she needs to be. But Soruka, I think from the character side, probably needs a bit more. But yeah, I just feel like both of them they're still here. Like I said, they're going to be in the WWE for years to come. But I don't know. Like, should they have not necessarily achieved more in terms of accolades, but like done more? I don't know what it is. I just do feel like they've both kind of stagnated, and I saw maybe a bit more for them at this stage. Or maybe it's the likes of Stephanie and all these other people coming in that's just kind of slowed down their momentum as they're doing what they need to do at the top of the division. Maybe that's what it is.
I think I agree with you on that point. And I think it's in the sense where both of them, are kind of still in that maybe happy to be here kind of thing, or it kind of feels that way, or it kind of still makes you feel as though it's NXT 2.0. You know what I mean? Like, we're still in that space. And that's not to say it's not going to change and it can't change. I think that could change very quickly for Soruka, possibly with when Zarya eventually turns. That could add something to her whole thing. Of course, Soruka was out for a very long time as well with injury. So that, that's gone against her as well in terms of experience and storylines that possibly could have happened in that space of time. I think with Kalani as well, the more aggressive thing has worked or has helped, but then it's still not believable. So you know how we talk about Jade Cargill not feeling like a face?
Yeah, babyface.
I don't feel Kalani feels like a heel, or or the aggressive side is believable enough. You know what I mean? It was something that she needed, definitely. And I think it definitely needed to happen, but it needs to go further. Something needs to go a little bit further for it to feel believable, or something like that. It's never really been it's not been a full heel turn. And I think if we get to that space, or if they decide to do that, I think that's when we may see something different, or it may feel better or feel different, should I say. But they've got, as you said, Max, man, they've got so much time. They've shown all the skills that they need to show. They stand out so far ahead of everyone else in terms of, being completely different to everyone else in the ring. I can't wait to see one of those two girls go against Stephanie Riquet. Like, regardless of what's involved, whether it's for the championship or not, like, just them two going against someone like her who can also do very similar things to them, keep up with them in the ring, has more experience than them as well in that same respect. That would be interesting. But the simple fact that these two ladies can have a match that no other two ladies that we've seen so far can have.
Yeah.
That, I think, I think today, I think it's either today or yesterday, marks the 10-year anniversary of Sasha Banks versus Bayley at Takeover New York. And now we're talking about it 10 years later, how different it was, how much it changed, the industry, them two as friends, as rivals, storied careers, all the rest of it. I believe I can confidently say that I expect that to be the same for these two ladies. Not from that specific match, We probably won't be talking about that match specifically in 10 years, but at the same time, we'll be talking about, I'm expecting to be talking about their rivalry or the way that, you know, their careers have gone parallel in 10 years time. And there may still be a rivalry happening at that same time as well. And that's what I expect to see from those two. Gerard, what do you think's next for Kalani? So she's, you know, we've talked about her new aggressive side. She's, you know, a year ago she became the first NXT Women's North American Champion at Battleground last year. She's won it. She had great matches. She's lost it. She's challenged for it again unsuccessfully. What do we do now with Kalani Jordan, especially in this massive pool of ladies that we have in NXT?
I think she needs to be able to commit to this heel turn. You know, part of what has derailed what we viewed as the heel turn was what happened Sunday. If you'll notice, when she came out Sunday, she's slapping hands. She's very happy to be here. They're respecting each other. I think Kalani has to get to the point, and I'm going to say this respectfully. I think this is part of the challenge of the new crop of pro wrestler, right? The new crop of pro wrestler isn't as committed to their character when they are standing across the ring from someone who they are friends with, who they know we're about to kill it. You know, they're more into, it's the equivalent of, you remember we mentioned Sasha, when Sasha and Bianca fought at WrestleMania, and they started in tears because they were like, we're the first two Black women to main event WrestleMania, right? That moment should have happened after the match. That moment should have happened in the locker room. That moment should have never happened for the whole, because if you think about the whole buildup was Sasha, I'm better than you, and you're this, and you're that, and, you know, so what I'm saying is now we have a generation of wrestlers who they know, okay, we're about to go kill it in the ring. Like, oh my God. Forget the fact that you just beat Zarya, and you beat Zarya to get this shot, and you talked all kinds of trash and all the things. Now we get in there and I'm slapping hands. No. You know, that is the problem. So I think for Kalani, she's got to commit to being the heel that she started out to be. The trajectory was there. Hey, I'm tired of being looked at as the little sister. We all understand that. I'm tired of just being happy to be here. We understand that. In this very, very stacked women's division, you have to stand out. You can't just be happy to be here. So she's got to do that. And I honestly feel like, as crowded as the picture is for the NXT Women's Championship, give her a little longer to be able to commit to heel and then send her to the main roster. She doesn't need to have to compete for the NXT Championship for her to be main roster ready. She just needs more reps, because right now, if you think about what the main roster looks like, you know, we've got people coming and going, you know, from the loss of a Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler and several of the others due to that, to the injuries that have just happened over the last couple of weeks. We need more players who could come up and really make an impact. I think Kalani Jordan could be one of those people who could now end up in the Intercontinental or U.S. title picture. Her and Zelina Vega, that would be something special to watch. You know what I mean? And we need more people rolling in that particular space. Her and Lyra could put on a great match, you know? So I think for her, it's do your work, do what you got to do, and commit to this heel turn for these next couple of months until we get to whenever the draft is, and let her get drafted to Raw or SmackDown without her having to battle for the NXT Women's Championship.
So this is what I was talking about. And yeah, you said it much better than I did when I'm talking about psychology. Like, you know, you're in the match, you are the bad guy, or you've made us believe, the audience, that you, by any means, I need to take this title back. But your performance hasn't shown me that. Your performance was brilliant, but it didn't show me that you're mad, angry, you wanted to do, you know, win the North American title by any means. Like, he didn't say that to me. So yeah, like, I think, you know, to end on a positive, these two, for their like 2.0 class, head and shoulders above everyone.
Yeah,
For sure.
by far.
Like, so it's like I say, it's just the little things that will probably come with experience. Like you rightly said, they dazzle in terms of Soruka getting back to her best following injury. Like, these are just little things that will then make them better. Like, a lot of people, you know, you talked about Will Ospreay and Ricochet. A lot of people had a lot to say about that match. Remember all the stuff Vader said and stuff like that. It's like flipping around and stuff without context. And it's how a lot of people feel following this match that the ladies had. And this is it. It's once you add that context of who's the heel, who's the face, what you're determined to do and stuff like that. Like, again, you mentioned Sasha Banks and Bayley. Those matches were brutal. If you remember those matches, Sasha Banks was on murder. Like, she was a very nasty person to Bayley in those matches. So once they start adding those psychological elements to their game in general, like, it will fly. This will fly off the shelves. But that's why I just feel like, great. I've seen them wrestle and put on this stuff and do the stunts and the gymnastic stuff. Like, so if we're not moving, we're stagnating. So it's just to kind of course correct sort of thing.
Yeah, and to that particular point, you know, WWE isn't historically known for doing those kinds of matches because all of the moves count. All of the moves are supposed to have some. So, you know, just think about, and it's interesting, the parallels we made between Ospreay and Ricochet and these two. Think about how much more effective Ricochet is now when he committed to being a heel. He doesn't need to flip around as much. He doesn't need to put himself in danger as much, and he has more impact. So think about what this match looks like if Kalani Jordan commits to being a heel. Now she doesn't. I mean, she could literally be on this. I could do the flips, but I won't. Like, that adds a whole nother element to it, you know? And she gets in there, the facial expressions, kicking and punching and all those kinds of things to ground Sol Ruka. That changes what this match looks like because you forgot about the story that came into this whole thing. As they shook hands and they're like, oh, yeah, great for this is awesome, but this isn't story. And we're in a story-based company. So it's like, okay, yes. And to your point, Mex, the performance was great, but it very much felt like if this were a music situation, it felt like a singer doing a bunch of runs, but not singing a story. You're not painting the picture here with this song. So like, I'm amazed at your vocal dexterity, but what did you actually communicate to?
What did you say?
What did you say? You know, I mean, and I think that's the issue here is I don't want to take anything. Their performance was great, but that's the problem. Their performance was great. They didn't tell the kind of story where we go, yo, I'm going to remember this match because of the story they told, you know. So the challenge with that is now I don't want to see this match happen 3 times in a row, back to back to back, you know, as opposed to, you know, when you had the best of 7 series last year with Andrade and Mello, the stories that were being told added to all that they were doing in terms of their athleticism. So we wanted to see a best of 7. And that's, I think, the feedback there.
Yeah, for sure. I've you know, we can definitely all agree that the performance was phenomenal. But the story just wasn't told. But at the same time, you know, given everything, that was a small piece. But at the same time, the small piece would make a big difference in the whole thing. Keeping with NXT, but moving along, we're going to see the NXT in-ring debut of Jasper Troy on tonight's NXT.
Can you do it justice, please?
You got to do it right.
The monster.
The monster.
Yeah.
The monster. Booker T's guy, Jasper Troy. Gerard, we talked about him in length last week on the show. Mex wasn't here. So, Mex, I'm going to ask you, just quickly, give me your synopsis of one LFG as a whole, how you found it, what you felt about the dynamics of the show and everything, but then also about your feelings towards Jasper Troy, the man himself.
I thought LFG was great. I think it's like the best iteration of Tough Enough or that kind of series that they could have put together using people already in the PC and on their journey already. If the rumors are true that Mickie James is not returning and they're going to use what's her face? Undertaker's wife.
Yes,
Michelle McCool
Michelle
instead.
McCool. Okay.
Then that's like I think it should be Mickie James. But if they want to do that, that's fine. I think the right people won in terms of like I liked Xena. I think everyone can see the upside of Xena and how high Xena's ceiling is. But for now, which they did emphasize in the final, for now, Tyra is the answer. So that was great to see. And then in the men's final, who was it? Jasper Troy and
Shiloh Hill.
Shiloh Hill again. Shiloh Hill again. You can see the upside of him, but for now, I think Jasper Troy and how hungry he is. Like I just, you felt it through the screen. It became infectious at a certain point. And having two black inaugural winners of LFG is, it's almost like a middle finger to the people that are saying WWE and black talents and this, that, and the other. Like NXT, Evolve, LFG is full of black people. So let's stop this now. The future is black. I'm sorry to put it like that, but it is. And I feel like Jasper Troy, I was saying this on Wrestlings the other day, the fact I feel like he's not coming out and playing to the culture like we would regularly see. Like he is just a wrestler that is hungry. Like you're not gonna hear me say yo this or yo that or have a rap performance or hang around with Quavo or whatever like that. I'm here on business. Like, he's very much a wrestler. Like and I absolutely love that because it immediately makes him different. Like they mentioned in LFG, this is someone that can immediately go up against the champion Obafemi just by size. Like, and we saw what he did to Obafemi last week. So I think the right people won. They couldn't have got it any more right. I'm very much looking forward to Jasper Troy and how they use him on NXT. And he seems like he'll be tussling with the champion fairly soon. So I want to see how that looks. But just from even an in-ring perspective, like his big boss man slam, it just gets me out my seat every time. He's honestly great. Like so, and again, it's a hats off to the PC and what they're doing there with all the ladies and gentlemen down there because it works. They're literally factory making their WWE superstars of the future. So it's a very good show, and I'm here for Jasper Troy for sure.
No, for sure. We were saying the same thing on here last week about him not playing into, him not even playing into, because I feel as though even the character and the person that we see on TV and have seen on TV is who he is. It's not a gimmick that he's playing. You know what I mean? Whereas, he's not playing into the typical black stereotypes of, as you said, either the rapper or, we mentioned last week about, Troy Yearwood, who was always also on there, Chris Island being the, high performance sports guys, and or no one that comes out dancing around and is the cool guy. And, we're not getting none of that. We're getting this grungy from, from, the graveyard, so to speak, kind of guy. He's come from, the garage, with the chains and when in the final show when he's talking about his attire, his inspiration for all of that was Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, and Kevin Nash. Yeah. Whereas if you were to ask a guy like a Troy Yearwood, it would be Shelton Benjamin, R-Truth. We saw Anthony Luke. He was talking, The Rock was his inspiration. Like, you expect that. And yes, it's nice to hear all of that, but sometimes there are some of us that didn't look up to the other black performers. We looked up to other people as well. So it's nice that we get that as well as, being able to pay homage to your Booker T's and The Rock and others as well. But it's nice that it's just so different, but it definitely is genuinely him as well. It's as authentic as it gets. And you can't be mad at that in the slightest. Something else that we mentioned. Oh, go for it.
I want to ask a question because I noticed something as we're talking about Jasper Troy. Is Booker T secretly building something?
I was.
I would love it. I would love it.
Because you know, obviously when Jasper Troy hit last week, you know, he had all of his commentary about that. But the way he talked about Trick Williams.
Yep.
Obviously, there's been a connection to the song, but all of Trick's tribute to Booker in this title match. I mean, he did the spinner Rooney for crying out loud. It's like, what? Did the scissor kick? He did like all the bookend. I mean, it was like, and Booker is standing there like a proud papa. And I'm just curious. Is he secretly building something? Because it would make sense.
He done that on Reality of Wrestling, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He recently done that against Zilla Fatu and them lot. So
Yep. Maybe he was testing the waters, or maybe WWE saw what he did on Reality of Wrestling and said, "Ooh, let's see." Imagine, that would be. It would be nice. It would be nice. It'd be very interesting because even before the match, or as Trick was coming out, the way Booker was talking, and I understand, as you said, Gerard, Booker's always been a big fan of Trick from day one, especially when he broke away from Mello and all that, and he comes out and he does all this stuff when Trick comes out, but with Trick now as a heel, it feels very different for Booker to be as pro Trick,
right,
than it was before,
right.
So it's very interesting indeed, and obviously we know Jasper Troy has come up through LFG as part of Team Booker. He's always going to be Booker's guy as well. He's going to come out and everyone's going to talk about him. Booker's going to talk about him. I mean, look at how much Booker talked about Roxanne Perez, who came up through Reality of Wrestling as well. So if they are going down this route of setting something up, or Booker probably becoming somewhat of a manager or a more apparent mentor to these guys, it would make it very interesting indeed. I mean, we've seen when Victoria Crawford. That's the one, Victoria Crawford, when she was on TNA the other day, and you've got Robert Stone in her corner, and he's been, pulling some strings to make sure she gets this and that and whatnot. So we've seen that kind of crossover with NXT TNA already. Add Booker, Trick, and Jasper Troy to that mix. It would make it.
Troy,
I like it.
Jasper Troy being like Trick Williams' muscle right now. Keeping the TNA World title on him could be fun.
It would definitely be fun, and it would be a very good place for Jasper Troy to be in. Not as much pressure. He could still have matches against decent caliber stars, as almost like their way of getting to Trick. You know what I mean? They have to face Jasper Troy, or he gets involved in matches and whatnot. That would be very interesting. But one thing I was going to ask before Gerard asked that question, we mentioned last week about what it should look like for both Jasper and Tyra when they come into NXT. I think I have to say this every single week. We need to stop trying to predict NXT because the complete opposite happens every single time. We said it would make sense for Jasper to be held back a little bit, as in we don't see him, not even just held back as in he has matches against the lower end of the card, but we don't see him for a while. But it's Tyra that needs to be pushed, straight away. As much as stacked as the women's division is, she adds something completely different that no one else has. But we had it the other way around. We got Jasper Troy straight away, attacked the NXT champion straight away. But we don't see Tyra. Obviously, we saw her in the back, signing the contract, handing over the contract and whatnot. Was that the right decision, Mex, or do you see it as it maybe should have been the other way around?
Like, I'm happy they're throwing these guys in at the deep end. I think Tyra, the women's, there's just so many women. But I think Tyra does need to get involved fairly quickly because you don't want to be forgotten. Like we said with Jasper, he's already unique in his appearance and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I don't think he would be forgotten easily. Massive guy as well. But Tyra, in this stacked division, she needs to get involved. And one thing they mentioned in LFG why they like her is that, you know, they've had the likes of Kurt Angle in the men's division, Brock Lesnar in the men's division have legitimized this sport. Women haven't really ever had that. So, you know, we had Ronda Rousey for a short period of time and stuff, but Tyra would be a name, especially in NXT, that can do exactly that. One thing that I mean, I don't want to harp on and like seem like I'm discriminating, but like one thing that's not in Tyra's favor is her age. Her age profile at 32, I think, is considerably probably higher than a lot of the women in NXT. And if they want to, you know, kind of get her to the main roster and stuff quickly, then, you know, depending on her life plans and this, that, and the other, then yeah, they need to get the ball rolling sooner rather than later, sort of thing. But yeah, I think just having like going in there, having matches, building up wins, sort of things, just like out wrestling people, you know, I think is important. Personally, I'm not a fan of the gold medal gimmick. Because I don't think anyone's going to do it better than Kurt Angle. Like, I think it's just done to such a high level when Kurt Angle done it. She can come out and obviously people know she's an Olympic gold medalist and they can refer to her that as commentary. But I don't know, like waving it around and coming out with the medal, like I was hoping in LFG that wasn't going to hold her down. Like beyond an Olympian, who else are you? You know. So I think that probably needs to be developed pretty quickly. But just going out there and having good wrestling matches as they build and find a character for her, it's kind of worked for Lyra Valkyria, where Lyra really didn't have much to say and do as a character beyond the Becky Lynch stuff. And once Becky's come, look at Lyra's like a whole new person sort of thing, in promos and all sorts. And, you know, Lyra's great in ring. And I think that's what we're going to get from Tyra. It's just the character side that need to figure out what they're going to do with her and, yeah, put her on TV as well quickly.
For sure. You know, as you said, Max, you know, I think it's about showing what she can do and how she's different. I think that needs to be the main thing when it comes to Tyra May still. They need to show her skills in the ring. No one else can really do what she does or shouldn't be able to do what she does. It was a bit of her Achilles heel when LFG started. There was so much expectation put on her because she is a gold medalist and she's done, you know, the wrestling thing before, obviously in a very different world and a very different way, but it still sets a bar. You know, it was talked about, we talked about it last week, but it was talked about on the show as well, that, you know, she kind of got to this place where it felt stagnant because there was no growth in her because she was so high up already, not because she was low, because she was so high up. So that again needs to be something that needs to be addressed almost straight away on our TV screens. We need to see that as soon as possible before she is, as you said, Max, you know, forgotten. And that can be easily done again in this very stacked women's division that we have on NXT. I mean, there are ladies that we've probably forgotten about already. If it wasn't for Lola Vice having backstage segments, I would have forgotten about her. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for Ariana Grace having a match on TNA the other day, she's been doing her thing as what is it again? The
liaison.
Representative of liaison. That's the one. That's the word I'm looking for. Then again, she's another one who, you know, we could have not necessarily forgot about because we're seeing her on the show, but at the same time, we forget how good she is in the ring. She's brilliant in the ring, but we all forget that because we need to see it. So we need to see that with her as soon as possible, I believe.
The character stuff is so important because look at someone like a Jada Parker has literally got over because of her character. Jada Parker found herself in a women's world title match at Stand and Deliver because of her character. The likes of the Kalanis and Sol Rukas and Tara May Stills that we're talking about, like if they could have half or show half of the personality that Jada Parker shows, them lot will be gone already. they would be all the way on main roster already having matches. But this is it, like, especially in WWE, you know, this is what you need to hone in on to make it matter. Just Trick Williams, all charisma. Like, so yeah, they just need to kind of get this part down, which obviously may be a bit, you know, out of their characters, and they're digging for it a bit more. But the division work-wise for them anyway is very, very good. They just need to learn this other side of the game.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, and I know you talked about them having, you know, a job for life, and, you know, what they do in the ring helps them to stand out. But when you think about it in the long term, if that character part isn't quite up to par, they could end up in a very similar place as some of the others that we've seen, because, you know, we've seen Kaden Carter. You know, she again has so much ability. She was running matches like that with the likes of a Leo Rush before she even got to NXT. You know what I mean? So, you know, and unfortunately, she recently was let go as well. So it's not set in stone necessarily. They've got a bright future, of course, but the character part is definitely something that needs to be developed just to solidify, you know, their place in the future, I guess, more than anything else. Speaking of a woman who's set herself a future, we've been watching her for years and years now. But in AEW, Mercedes Mone won. We expected it. We were waiting for it. We were talking about this 3 months ago. She is set now to face Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship at All In, after she has now become won the Women's Owen Hart Cup, beating Jamie Hayter at Double or Nothing. Mex, I'm going to come to you first on this one. Mercedes Mone, Toni Storm. I kind of know what you're going to say, but who wins?
It's Mercedes, you would imagine. Like, she's their big star. She's the one with the big money. I think that the fact that they opted to do this is Mercedes' crowning moment in AEW. You were mentioning, you know, we saw it all coming. I did see this coming, but there was, you know, hope from my end that AEW would do the quote unquote right thing. And I feel like the right thing for the entire division. Now, the right thing for the show, putting on a show, your biggest show in America, is Mercedes and Toni Storm. I think that is the right thing for the occasion. But I think for the right thing for the division is Jamie Hayter beats Mercedes Mone. Then we all suddenly remember Jamie Hayter is an former Women's World Champion, and Jamie Hayter can go on to have that match. I think we still needed to put Mercedes in a match on All In against Athena. And by doing that, the whole division prospers, as opposed to kind of mortgaging the division right now on just the two biggest stars, which, yes, from a business standpoint, I get, and I'm not holding anything against them. You know, if you're put in that position, you probably do that yourself. It's the biggest match you can put on. But just from looking at the whole women's division, just how do the others eat from the situation that's left? Like, if we knew Mercedes could lose before that, then I guess it's not too bad, because she dropped that TBS title. I don't think she will lose before then. Can she pull double duty and Athena maybe beats her early on in the night, then she goes and wins the world title on the night as well? Maybe. But I'm saying Athena as well because it's in Texas, and I don't see how someone that was so involved in the promo is just not going to be there. So, and don't you dare tell her to defend the Ring of Honor Women's Championship on that show. Don't you dare. So, yeah, I just feel like I understand Mercedes versus Toni. I think Mercedes is going to win. I think Mercedes has been great. She's been in amazing form. Toni has been great as well. But for the wider division, was this the right thing to do?
And here's the thing, you know, Mercedes has now gone, you know, almost a whole year undefeated in AEW.
It's been a whole year.
It's been a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, and it just feels as though it's a foregone conclusion that she's coming out of All In as the AEW Women's Champion. Does she? My question is: does she leave with both that championship and the TBS championship? And if she doesn't, how do we get there? Who beats her? And there are, some names that we can throw in, because Mina Shirakawa is now in AEW. She's beaten her before, or faced her, or needs to get revenge on Mercedes. You mentioned Athena as well. Again, All In is in Texas. She was there, part of the promo, part of the announcement, all the rest of it. She's the longest reigning champion in Ring of Honor history. They're yet to kind of do anything really with her on AEW TV. Does she beat Mercedes for the TBS championship before Mercedes gets to Toni Storm? And if she doesn't, and Mercedes comes away with both championships, Gerard, what does that look like? And how does it make sense? Why would that be a good thing?
Well, here's part of the problem. Part of the problem is we've already had foreshadowing of this with 4 belts Monet. So since we've had 4 belts Monet, we're accustomed to seeing her with multiple championships, regardless of what those championships mean. So her holding the TBS championship and the Women's World Championship is not far-fetched just because we've watched her serve as a belt collector for the last few months. Now, is it the right thing to do? Probably not. And I mean, again, this is where, and I know they don't want to do this, this is where they could take their cues from NXT. We had Stephanie Vacour as a North American and the women's champion. We got one defense in to prove that you can hold both titles. And then she said, let's give this up for the betterment of, guess what? The women's division. Funny how that works when the whole idea of Mercedes, she's the first one to say, hey, I'm elevating the whole division. So if you're elevating the whole division, can you really do that by holding 4 championships? No, you cannot, right? So to me, I think one of 2 things has to happen. I think if she wins the AEW World Championship, she should be forced to relinquish any other championships she has because she's the AEW Women's World Champion. Like, that just makes sense if you're going to elevate the division. With that said, I think that also needs to happen because she can't possibly give the kind of attention to the world title division and the TBS championship division at the same time. It just isn't going to happen. So to me, your primary candidates potentially to become the TBS champion, we've mentioned Athena. The only problem I see there is, do we just retire the Ring of Honor Women's Championship? Because there's nobody there. She's just I thought I saw a graphic like 890 days, probably 900 days at this point. She's going to be at a ridiculous number that doesn't mean anything when you don't have anybody to fight. This is not Roman Reigns' 1,300-day championship reign. It's not Trish Adora's, 1,600-day Pan-African title reign, right? This is a title reign that is... Here's the sad part. The Ring of Honor Women's title reign is losing its luster by the day. And that's the challenge here. So, I mean, either you put, here's my thought. This is reminiscent of WrestleMania 10, where you made Bret Hart do double duty, right? He's fighting Owen, to start the match or to start the card, and then he's fighting for the world title to end the card. Here is where you make this look really possible. You book this so that Mercedes, hey, this is the biggest show of the year. If you come into this at this TBS title, you got to defend it. There's no reason that your championship should not be defended on the biggest show of the year. So she's got to do double duty. And whether that double duty is against Athena or if it's against Willow Nightingale, let them have their rubber match. Let Willow come out as the new TBS champion. Since she's just re-signed the deal, she's going to be there. Now Mercedes looks weak going into this match with Toni, where she doesn't have 2 or 3 weeks to recover. She's got a couple of hours to recover. Can she recover in time? And now we make it look like Toni Storm could possibly leave defeating Mercedes Mone. We all know that's not going to happen. We know Mercedes. This is the other problem with this. They booked Mercedes in such a way where nobody believes she's going to lose. You just don't. Plus, you look at all that she has to offer. As great as Toni Storm has been, and Toni Storm has been great, come on, the whole world knows Mercedes. The whole world knows her. So, to me, the right thing is Mercedes does double duty at All In, loses the TBS championship there, and then and on the way there, whatever other title she's got, the Rev Pro Championship is what I think she has left because she lost the New Japan show. She's got to lose that. Let her lose that back to Mina, right? So now she walks in with just the TBS championship. Let that be lost. So now it's like, okay, what's left? Does she have what it takes? Make us feel sorry for Mercedes because we don't feel sorry for her right now.
Just on that note, before A-Dazzle goes, I agree with you, but I don't think she'll lose the Rev Pro one because Rev Pro are running like a massive anniversary show the same weekend of Forbidden Door when Forbidden Door was in London.
Okay.
So they probably
she might lose it then.
On her. Maybe, exactly.
Yeah.
That's after All In. But yeah, go
on. Yeah, as much as what you said is the right thing. I also feel as though another, I guess, a second position right thing, and not necessarily to benefit everyone, but I'm talking about benefiting Mercedes here. You know, I know Mercedes came in talking about, you know, I'm here to better the women's division, and all of that, and to elevate them and whatever. But that was Mercedes Venado that said that. Not Mercedes Mone. So I feel as though the right thing is Mercedes wins the AEW Women's Championship. She's still got the TBS. We've got that visual. We see her with all the belts. But that doesn't last long. Maybe the following week or a month later or at the next pay-per-view, she loses the TBS Championship to whomever it is. It could be Athena, it could be Shirakawa, it could be Willow, it could be still be even Jamie Hayter. There's a few names that we could name that it could be, you know, she could lose to. And I think when it comes to the Rev Pro, in my dream world, she loses to Rio.
Yeah, I was thinking.
But that's in my dream world. That's in my dream. Rio, Rev Pro Women's Championship. I don't think she's won that yet. So that would be a good one. So yeah, I feel as though the visual of Mercedes holding all belts would actually make sense because there's also, you've got to think, as much as Mercedes Venado said what she said about elevating the women's division, it is still also Mercedes Venado that needs that validation that she never got in WWE. And I think she's still after that too. So her kind of being this undeniable champion, holding 4 belts, holding both belts from in AEW, that would be, you know, I think that's more possible than the right thing. So we'll see how it works, but it offers up so many different things, and I think if done right, there is still a way of it being able to elevate the rest of the division as well, because you have to build up other people during this space of time. And that
should have been doing that all of this time.
Of course. Of course. And they haven't done a great job of it. And I was going to say, I'm not completely confident it's going to happen or happen correctly or right or, you know, done well. But that's something that they can do and need to do. But we'll see whether that happens or not. I'm not completely sure. But I think the visual of Mercedes holding all titles at All In
fireworks
is
going off
all of that is the equivalent or the closest she's gonna get to a WrestleMania moment. In this space and time right now, and I believe more than likely that's going to happen. I mean, anything can happen. we all thought Will Ospreay coming out as the winner of the men's Owen Cup was foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
But Hangman.
So, and I've been meaning to ask this question. Is there a world and a scenario where on July 12th, Mercedes Mone is not the AEW Women's World Champion?
No.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. I don't. It'd be a major surprise, and I don't see why they would do it. I can't think of a reason why they would do it. Even with Toni Storm being as great as she is, putting all the hard work that she's put in and all the rest of it, I don't see why.
There's definitely a lot more chance that at the end of the show, Jon Moxley is still world champion than there is that Mercedes isn't the women's world champion. Yeah, if there was one of the eventualities, I'll probably say that Moxley retains over Toni Storm.
Oh,
Mercedes is pretty much given. And just to add on to your booking, Dazzle, I would say at a point of where she's trying to keep up managing both titles and she loses the TBS title, then I would probably add the Renegade Twins to her act as little J&J security sort of thing to kind of try and help her keep her title. But, right now I know she's doing the whole wrestling thing and proving she's a great wrestler and stuff like that. But ultimately the whole CEO thing is a gimmick. So it's like, show that you needed to add these two to kind of help you, and that's her giving back and bringing through two people, which I think she's kind of earmarked anyway as people she wants to be involved in their development. But what I will say, over the next 6 weeks, Mercedes has work to do, because Toni Storm, when it comes to selling a match, promos, has been out of this world. Like, she has been, WWE have probably looked at this character and thought, we had this woman, this woman, and look what she's now doing over there. Like, this is WWE's bag. And Mercedes Mone can't, for 6 weeks now, cut backstage promos with Renee Paquette.
No,
Toni Storm is all action and in the ring. So I know I'm not one of the people that necessarily criticize her promo skills and stuff, but I know it's a thing out there, and I know some people have said that's why she's backstage cutting promos, because there's an element of they can control what's going on out there, and the crowd doesn't take it where it takes it. So she's really gonna have to step up to help do her bit in terms of selling this match. I know we're all looking forward to it anyway, but there's some people that will be on the fence and may not buy a ticket or whatever. She has work to do over the next 6 weeks, and the emphasis for me is definitely on her, to see if she can kind of match Tony's energy in regards to what those segments are going to look like going into All In.
It's it's something that we've talked about before on here about the space in between the semi-final to and the final of the Owen Cup. It was about 4 weeks, and they managed to kind of keep us intrigued a little bit. They did it in the simplest way, which did work. It did enough work. But this 6 weeks is going to be very interesting for exactly the same reason that you said, Mex. Toni Storm does her thing in a way that most men would dream they had that level of charisma and delivery and character and all of that. It's head and shoulders above everybody in AEW, and that's everyone. No one comes close to her right now in that respect. So it's going to be interesting to see how they make this work. We saw what happened with Toni and Mariah May last year. Obviously, they're kind of like, jumped the gun a little bit with the attack, and then we kind of like lost interest. And last week we were like, oh, okay. And we were there at All In, Mex. That was like the quietest match of the whole night. Literally. Which is a shame, because they did great work before they pulled off the attack. So well, hopefully we'll see a better turnout with this one. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in terms of Double or Nothing. I won't, because time is very short. But what I will say is, there were so many of our people on the card that did great things. Ricochet, we will talk about, people turning heel and character development and all the rest of it. Yeah, Double or Nothing was great for him. Brilliant. But going back towards WWE, you know, obviously we've talked for the last few months about there not being any black singles talent on the card and of a PLE or, you know, big event, blah, blah. But then, of course, R-Truth went against John Cena. Mex, what was your take on that match and his involvement? We talked about this last week, and I said it was just obvious it was going to be, especially finding out that it wasn't a title match. It was obvious it was going to be a thing where it was for someone else's return, whether that be Randy Orton or Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes came back. You know, we're getting possible, you know, the tag team match that we're getting, I believe, at Money in the Bank. But in terms of that match itself, do you feel it benefited R-Truth? Are we just starting something? You know, what was the purpose of this match?
John Cena had a date to fulfill at a Saturday Night Main Event, and they earmarked something in. And I just felt like R-Truth could have been used. Or no, I know he's all jokey, R-Truth, but R-Truth really could have been used as an integral piece in John Cena's story. You know, whether it's to turn him back face after all of this stuff is done, like, and they've rushed it. Now they can still obviously use R-Truth as a fixture in this wider story, like I'm suggesting, but just to kind of wheel him out for the sake of this match, and it was what it was. I mean, R-Truth will probably get some t-shirt sales out of the Ron Cena stuff. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I just feel like, yeah, it's to be honest, I blame John Cena and this heel turn more than R-Truth. Like, I just feel like it's just not really working at all. But yeah, I just feel like this was a good opportunity to either make John Cena a real heel, do something dastardly or something, or effectively use R-Truth as a vehicle to help the character come back round to his senses. But I don't think either was really achieved.
Gerard, why was this not a title match?
I don't know respectfully what R-Truth would have done to have made it a title match, right? Like, he didn't beat anybody. He hasn't been on our television screens wrestling, and he didn't provoke John Cena in such a way where Cena should put the title on the line. I remember Cena put him through a table, not the other way around. So, you know, even the build up to it. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is the promo that R-Truth cut SmackDown the night before Saturday night's main event, where it was like, oh, this is serious R-Truth. Oh, and he's got some things to say. Wow, this is kind of cool. You know, I think, you know, Mex is definitely right that this didn't accomplish anything, and it could have. If anything, I think the thing that's missing from all of this is the real reason Cena turned in the first place, which is apparently selling your soul to The Rock, which we haven't had any sort of loop closed on that. And I think that could have been a really cool place to do that, where we now get at least some indicator. The Rock showing up on a screen or having somebody representing him, like something. This is just out there. And I think Cena's heel turn out there, just dependent on a random promo here or there, isn't quite doing what we needed it to do. I've enjoyed the heel turn myself. I think it's been fun to watch, but it needs something else. You know, this right now is kind of like, you know, a good piece of food with no seasoning. We need some seasoning on this, something. So give me some salt and pepper, some Lowry, some hot sauce. Give me something. And I don't have the something. And there needs to be something, because now we're going into Money in the Bank, and we're teaming him with Logan Paul. You know, he's got a date, I believe, with Night of Champions in Saudi. You know, then we're gearing up for SummerSlam. What in the world is he going to need to do for SummerSlam for those 2 nights at MetLife? You know, I don't know if this is the rematch with Cody. I don't know. I don't know where we are. You know, I don't know if you bring Roman back. I don't know. But something has to happen where we get an interest in this heel Cena, and they've got options. Obviously, using R-Truth wasn't one of them that they felt they needed to do a whole lot with.
Which is a shame, because, like, as as we've all said, and so many people have said, so much more could have been done. Even with the exact same outcome. I think so much more could have been done. Whether I still feel as though putting as a championship match probably still would have been a better thing to do, even if it didn't make complete sense in terms of R-Truth beating other people and probably earning it necessarily. But I think for the match itself, it just would have added something, a bit of excitement to it, a bit more intrigue. And I think it just felt as though we knew the foregone conclusion. We knew it was going to be a return for a Cody or a Randy Orton or something like that, and it wasn't there necessarily for R-Truth, which I think is a very big, massive missed opportunity. And I would have thought even John Cena, the man John Cena, not the wrestler John Cena, would have pushed for something like that too, for Truth to kind of get a bit more of a rub. Add something to his whole, or kind of pay homage or, respect to his career, I guess. The visual of John Cena and Logan Paul, I can't lie, I got so excited. It just looked correct. I know there's all the haters on the planet that hate Logan Paul, but I'm the complete opposite. I'm a massive fan of Logan Paul. Him and Cena versus Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes is going to happen. That should be interesting. Do we see, very quick yes or no, do we see John Cena versus Logan Paul happening?
I don't think so. I can't see it. They're on different shows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that matters much, but yeah.
Not really, but yeah. Okay. I kind of see it happening, not necessarily for literally for views and numbers.
People will cheer Cena and
yes,
boo Logan, and I don't know if that helps the heel turn. So
Right.
True. And the whole heel, in my opinion, the whole heel turn kind of just feels the whole thing just feels weird to me. It just feels weird to me, and it's not necessarily the reaction from the crowd, but just again, we've talked about people being believable as heels or faces. It just doesn't it just feels way too over the top, way too what is it again? Pantomime. And I know wrestling is pantomime, but at the same time, it just feels as though like John Cena's doing this whole pantomime thing. I'm just like, yeah.
That's why he needs somebody with him, like somebody with him that would make it all make sense.
Maybe.
Well, that should have been The Rock, but then The Rock came out and done. The Rock came out and done this, so I have nothing to do with it, guys.
This guy.
The weirdest thing. It's been the weirdest thing. But yeah, there was something interesting you said, Mix, on gorilla position about where John Cena could go.
About Cena's turn. To your point, where no one believes him, he should just come out and be like, eventually, obviously, and be like, I had to play this character. I had to be the bad guy. I wanted to push you guys away. This is how I had to deal with retirement because I've been so integral here. Like, I just thought if I pushed you guys away, then this was me of dealing with it. It's a very quick and easy way to rectify what has been a heel turn that hasn't landed for most people. Like, and then it plays into the fact that we think he's playing a heel and all of this kind of stuff. When he's like, I'm not that guy, but I had to do that sort of thing to kind of deal with the fact that I was retiring and move away from the fans. Like, I just feel it could be something that they could lean on. God knows what this whole world is going to look like when WWE Untold or whatever that show's called is going to be revealed. Like, talk about pulling back the curtain. Like, we'll see. But yeah, it's I just think that's something that could be used to rectify the heel turn and turning back to a face. And his last few months in the WWE let people celebrate him.
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely need to. I believe we're not going to have Cena going out as a heel. You know what I mean? There's going to be a turn back to a face in somewhere at some point, and I think that's a perfect way to do it. And I think it plays into realism as well. Like it really is. It really would simply be the stereotypical man dealing with his emotions, or not being able to. You know what I mean? Intelligently deal with his emotions. He does, instead of accepting the fact that he's struggling to say goodbye, he has to do bad things in order to try and make it easier for himself. But it doesn't really work, and he has to be like, okay, this is what I had to do, and this is why I did it, and I'm gonna miss this thing, and blah blah blah. It happens, you know what I mean? I think that would be a perfect way to do it, and it adds so much character development. It adds the realism to the story and everything. So I think that's one way to do it. But this is WWE. You never know where we go with this and how it goes. For me, the heel turn has been suspect, and it's down to The Rock. It's down to things Cena has been doing, but this is the era that we're in, and we are where we are, and it has us watching a little bit more to see what happens next, and I guess that in itself is the whole point. On that note, our time has gone, far gone. You have been watching WrstlXtra on the BWA YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us, those that did. And of course, you can catch us here every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. EST. Work it out wherever else you are. It's too much brain power for me. Gerard, tell the people where they can find you in all the other spaces that you are in.
For sure. You can check me out at Bonafide across all of the social platforms. You can check me out with Ashe Wrestling at AsheWrestling.com. We've got a big show coming up June 28th. Return of the King. It's the return of Cedric Alexander, which is going to be exciting. He'll be taking on Yaya. We'll have more information with the Women's Championship Tournament. Jocelyn Navarro versus Kiera Hogan. The Men's Championship is up for grabs as Darius Lockhart challenges Darius Carter for the title, and so many more great things are going to be happening there. Again, AsheWrestling.com is where you can get tickets and where you can view it if you will not be in Charlotte for that. Also, you can check me out with Southern Honor Wrestling on IWTV. There it is. IWTV. I had too many IWs in my head. Check that out there. Nightmare Factory, which is WWE ID School. You can check that out at the Nightmare Factory's YouTube channel. We actually have another show coming up in June. So June's going to be a pretty busy and fun month for sure. And of course, you can check out my podcast network, the Bonafide Podcast Network, at bonafidepodcastnetwork.com or wherever it is that you get your podcasts.
Amazing stuff. Mex obviously joined us this week. He's got time, so I thought I'd long it out as much as I possibly could. But Max, tell us, where can the people find you in all the different spaces that you're in?
WrestleManiac UK, that's all on all the social platforms and stuff like that. Me and the guys, Rest Things, just for our typical barbershop talks on wrestling, and all the WWE stuff is on Gorilla Position. So, yeah.
Amazing stuff. Of course, you guys can find me in the number one place for Black Wrestling, which is Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram. That's all I'm going to tell you. Guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you again next time. Take care.